When you walk through the door to the quantum field, you can't enter as a somebody. You have to enter as a nobody, as only an awareness or a consciousness, a thought or a possibility, leaving behind everything else in the physical world and living only in the present moment. This process requires that you break your chemical addiction, at least temporarily, to the same emotions that used to drive your thoughts. And you stop feeling the same way, so you can stop putting your attention on the three-dimensional world of matter, the particle, and instead put your attention on energy or possibility, the wave. Given all of that, you probably won't be surprised to learn that such an experience creates some pretty significant changes in your brain. First, because you are perceiving yourself as being beyond the physical world, which means there's no outside danger to anticipate, your thinking brain, the neocortex, the seat of your conscious mind, slows down, becomes less aroused, and works in a more holistic fashion. Earlier, we talked about how living by the hormones of stress causes our brain waves to fire in a very disordered, incoherent pattern, which in turn means our bodies can't work efficiently because we are trying to control and predict everything in our lives. We become excessively focused, shifting our attention from one person to another thing to some place at a certain time, activating the various neurological networks assigned to each one of these knowns. Once we slip into the present moment and become aware of this infinite field of information where there is nothing physical, this eternal void, and once we are no longer analyzing or thinking about anybody, anyone, anything, any place, or any time, we are no longer activating those different compartments of neural networks in our brain. And as we move our awareness from a narrow focus on matter, objects, people, places, our bodies, and time in our external environment, and instead open our focus and become aware of the vastness of this infinite blackness by putting our attention on nothing, on space, and on energy and information, our brain begins to change. The different compartments that were once subdivided now start to unify and move toward a coherent whole brain state. Different neural communities reach out and form bigger communities. They synchronize, organize, and integrate. And what syncs in the brain begins to link in the brain. Once your brain gets coherent, you get coherent. When it gets orderly, you get orderly. When it works well, you work well. In short, when it functions more holistically, you feel more whole. In other words, once you start connecting to the unified field as an awareness, or once you become more aware of it by paying attention to it, your biology becomes more whole and unified, since the unified field is by definition a unifying energy. When brain waves are coherent, they are in phase with one another. Both their crests, their high points, and their troughs, their low points, match. Because coherent brain waves are more orderly, they are also more powerful. You could say they speak the same language, follow the same rhythm, dance to the same beat, and share the same frequency, so they find it easier to communicate. They're literally on the same wavelength. When brain waves are incoherent, on the other hand, the electrochemical messages or signals they are sending to different parts of the brain and body are mixed and erratic, so the body cannot then operate in a balanced, optimal state. In other words, when you are in the present moment, you get out of your own way. As you become pure consciousness, pure awareness, and change your brain waves from beta to alpha and even to theta, the autonomic nervous system, which knows how to heal your body much better than your conscious mind does, steps in and finally has an opportunity to clean house. That's what creates brain coherence. If in this state you are no longer reaffirming the known, your same life, the science is pointing the finger at there's strong environmental changes going on in the person's biology, but they're in a ballroom. Now, there's not a lot of things happening in a ballroom, but so then how does that happen? Okay, so the application then becomes important for everybody because When we started looking at advanced meditators that didn't have those transcendental states, but they practiced meditation every day, there was a dosing effect. In other words, the more they self-regulated, the more they were resistant to the things in their environment. Well, let's think about that. If I said to you, Ed, why are you upset today? And you say, I'm upset because of the staff member, I'm upset because of what I heard on the news, there was traffic, I was late. What you're really saying is, my environment, some person, some condition, something in my outer world is actually having control over the way I feel and the way I think. And so that's a subconscious program called victimization. Anything that controls you, the way you feel and the way you think, you're victim to. Now, the problem is that the majority of times our response to the environment weakens the organism. That means that your fear, your anger, your aggression weakens the organism. So now the environment is actually causing the organism through the stress hormones and the long-term effect to really start down-regulating systems in the body, right? So as long as you react to your environment and the response is causing you to become weakened, you're victim to your environment. Well, what makes sense then, and will you be more susceptible to anything in your environment because you're a victim to it? But the process